Hi, in today's episode, we will readdress a topic that causes lots of emotional heat, and with good reason, cheating in partnerships. So stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm Meg Michaelson, and thank you for being here. If you're new to the channel, thank you for giving this a try. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting. I've had some great comments lately, and I do read them and I appreciate them. Whether or not you agree with me, it's still good conversation, so thank you. Today's topic is a topic that many people get emotional around because it's about betrayal, unfaithfulness in a partnership. And that every time someone is betrayed, when we are going through that process of the unraveling after a betrayal, that really is a very painful journey. And all of us either have had it done, or we've done it, or we know somebody that's near and dear to us. So it can really cause a lot of high inflammation and opinions. Well, today I want to readdress, and I want to look also at the questions and comments from some of the listeners. So to be clear, I'm not giving excuses or saying it is okay to cheat outside a relationship. That's a form of betrayal, not only to the partner, but also to self, because lying is so hard on our physical body and also our connection to our soul body. However, it is real. It happens very often, too often, and it never does fix anything. It just takes a situation, of course, and makes it worse and causes feelings of betrayal for not only the partner that was cheated on, but also for the kids, if there are any, if they find out, and for the partner that cheated. It also, believe it or not, is also hard on them. Why? Because again, the lying is so hard on our soul body and in that connection to our physical body, causes a disconnect. Statistics show that infidelity is common, with estimates ranging from 13 to 25% of people admitting to cheating. 13 to 25% are the ones that have admitted. Of course, we know many people never do admit it. Men and women, according to the Institute for Family Studies, 20% are men that are unfaithful and 13% are women. It's really becoming unfortunately, more balanced in our society. And remember, infidelity can be physical or emotional or both. Both hurt when the betrayal happens, and both can be healed and overcome, truly, if two people are willing to work through it. As I spoke about in the other episode, the answers are plentiful and there are so many shades of gray. So I want to just readdress a few reasons why, as I said last time, people do cheat. Sometimes it's because they're angry. They're angry at life or their past or their current partner. They have a low self-esteem, perhaps, and they feel good when someone gives them attention. Now, again, remember, these are not excuses. These are valid reasons within that person, even though it's an unhealthy way to move forward. But that's what we do, right? We all make excuses on some level in our life where we have. Hopefully we grow through that. Also, a lack of love for self and not feeling love from others. If we don't feel love from self, it's really hard to feel love from others, by the way. And that's a very similar feeling of being neglected or feeling neglected. That lack of love of self. When we pay more attention to ourselves and our needs in healthier ways, we don't feel as neglected by others. Why? Because we're no longer neglecting ourselves. They go hand in hand. Those in our lives that are closest to us are mirroring how we treat ourselves in so many respects. Some people cheat because they have a low commitment to whatever they used to have that had meaning, whether it's their partner or their life in general or a job. Life is not that simple. That's why it's so important to do that deep personal work that we talk about. Because when we do, we start to become more awake and we don't blame external circumstances for our lives. Some people, this was brought up, need variety because we feel discontent in life. Second chakra, we need to have a life that feels good and passionate. And passion comes in many ways, not just sexual passion. There are always other ways to have variety without having an affair. But again, it takes choice and being awake. Another reason is because the sexual desire, there's an unmatched sexual energy between partners. And this is real. And it does affect some people. And sometimes it's just that loneliness or a situation, and two people bump into each other in some form or another and start to get closer than they possibly should because they're with other people. Again, this is not an excuse, because we are all here on earth to learn to live in truth and integrity, holding healthy boundaries. When this happens, when people stray, even though they didn't mean to, even though that was a first time thing, there are underlying issues. And it becomes a little easy when we're so disconnected from ourselves or our partner. That's why it is so important to be checking in with self and our partner. So this episode, I want to focus not so much on the whys, the particular reasons, but what can we do to shift our lives away from that pattern, either cheating or being cheated on? I wish it was a simple answer, but it's not, because it's a complex situation. There are so many people that have cheated and really regret it and change and stop. And then, of course, there are others that plan to stay playing the field. They go into their partnership with that attitude, or they've tried it and they continue it. But there are also many people in between. And as the partner, if you have had someone unfaithful, you can't control the partner. You can't. We can't. We can, however, shift what we accept in our life, in how we live, and also shift what we expect in our partners. Layers and layers that need to be healed for not only the person that was betrayed, also for the person that strayed, if you want to make that relationship work. You know, it's really easy as humans. We can jump so quickly to an emotional response. And as I have addressed before, we can go right to our emotions and out of the balance of head and heart. And then when we stay in that emotional response only, we get stuck. We can never move beyond the pain if we stay stuck in the wounded emotion. Today, I'm asking listeners to open our ears, open our minds, open our hearts, and look at the underlying causes. Why we are in a relationship, why our partner has strayed, and all those shades between. There's nothing is really black and white. There's just so many shades of gray. And of course, understanding that it takes effort to heal this, and to understand that as a society, if each one of us would choose to listen, look, be mindful of how we treat self and others, we'll all grow. So that being said, if you're working on your boundaries, if you're choosing to be more awake, if you're choosing to be a healthier communicator, if you're choosing to have a stronger sense of self, growing your life in ways that have more meaning, that doesn't mean your partner won't cheat. They too have to grow their life in meaningful ways. It does mean, however, that you can choose to have a healthier, more fulfilling life. You might just create healthier boundaries along the way, and then feel strong enough to go for help, leave if you choose, have them leave. We can say stop with our actions and our words, because they have to match. Words are words. We need actions and words to define healthy boundaries. And because this is such a heated topic, like I said, for good reason, I want to address some of the comments from the last episode. One of the comments said, "This is not a good marriage explanation." Most of the things that were said were not good marriages. And that's absolutely true. You know, we can think on the outside we have a good relationship. So many times the partnership looks good on the outside, or one of us feels it's okay when we don't know what's going on with the other person. We don't really know what's going on in their head because we kind of start just living, going through the motions, and we stop really checking in with each other. Unless we stay truly intimate with our partner, emotional intimacy, we may think it's a good partnership, but it is not. And that's my point. Those people that will do what they think they can get away with are the partners to avoid. And when we are intimate with somebody emotionally, we can read each other. We can understand because we feel that connection. We spend time with each other. Not 24/7, of course, because that's not real healthy unless that's what you both choose, but spending time having good conversations about how we're feeling, about where we might be feeling lack. Then we can become so much more in tune with our truth, and we can notice the red flags, and we can address the red flags before they become really big. Some people actually want to grow and better themselves and hold themselves accountable. Unfortunately, what I've seen so many times is that some people want to make themselves and a world a better place. And unfortunately, what I've seen so many times is that some people that really want to make the world a better place, those givers, gravitate towards those people they think they can save. It's not always a conscious, it's a subconscious going on. And so that giver in a partnership might attract someone that would be more of a cheater. So it's not saying, of course, this is not a blanket statement. This is a possibility, and that does happen. So we really want to look at our own boundaries and our own intimacy. Having a partnership that's really very healthy is an ongoing piece where we are looking at ourselves and looking at the relationship. And we're there for each other. Otherwise, if we're the giver, we can end up with people that behave like teenagers. And yep, they get away with whatever they can. Another person said, all you have to do is leave. Absolutely. For some people, it is that easy. They just say, I'm out, I'm done. Partnerships are complex. And yes, sometimes the best choice is to leave. However, because we don't know what's going on in everyone else's relationship, we don't know why someone chooses to stay. We want to be careful that we're not judging someone that does. Some people stay because they still have love for that person. Some people stay because they have children. Some people stay because they're afraid to be alone. Who knows? But sometimes it's not so easy just to pack our bags and leave. Sometimes people just have hope. Whatever the reason, open up to the possibilities because we're all different.
I think oftentimes there's a lot of shaming of people who choose to stay. Do you think there is a real kind of underlying reason that can be tracked in someone's either like history, childhood, behavior that can kind of thwart that like ability to just leave?
And some people stay if they've been cheated on once and the couple stays together. They're still maybe not even addressing the issues to try to make their relationship better. There's still the disconnect. They still maybe don't trust. Whatever the reason is, why do I stay? Because there is a deep fear oftentimes of, am I going to be better off alone? And does that go back to childhood and the strength we have? Most likely, there's dysfunction scale. Some people have a highly dysfunctional, horrible childhood, and some people have a moderate, and some people have a low. Not everything is caused in childhood. A lot is, absolutely. But then things happen along the way too. And we can lose our self-esteem based on being in a bad relationship for a little too long that maybe didn't stem necessarily from my first 5 years of life. However, if people choose to stay and they look at their marriage and they think, this keeps happening, but we have fun and I love him, and that's up to them. There is a difference though. If the relationship is disempowering to the one person and they're holding on because they don't want to be alone, which is usually the case, then yeah, that space of, I'm going to stay here because I don't really know that I'm going to get better. I don't know that my next partner will even come. I might be alone, and I would rather be in something unhealthy than be alone. If I could talk to that person, I would say, I get it. I was in a situation similar, and I've been alone now for a while, and I love my life. And it took work. It took work, and to know that we really want to start to love ourselves, do things that we like about ourselves, live a life where we have friends. And if you don't have a great job, find some great hobbies. But absolutely everyone, in my belief system, everyone is meant to be okay with themselves. Everyone is meant to learn how to not have to have a partner. Because why? Because sometimes it really is much worse than being on your own, but how will you know if you never try? So that's a good question, Jacob. And there are so many reasons for that. But in my belief, it's that end of the day that they get so stuck on that one person and the life they've created that they forget that there might be actually something better. And I don't mean another person, maybe, but first we got to like ourselves and be comfortable being alone. And then we can bring in a healthier partner. Another comment was they're selfish and they choose to cheat. And sometimes people that cheat are selfish. I totally agree with that. They're only thinking of themselves and the pain that they're in. I recently heard of a young couple that is going through this, and they have little kids, and he cheated multiple times apparently, and didn't consider what that's going to do to the family. That's selfish. Yes, in my belief system. Sometimes they're selfish. However, sometimes people are givers and they end up being unfaithful. Why? Because they're giving too much and they just want to be loved or nurtured in return. Now, they're going about it in an unhealthy way, of course, but they're not necessarily a selfish person. They just sometimes crave intimacy. A woman I used to know many, many years ago craved intimacy with her partner. And he not only avoided sex, but he also avoided emotional intimacy. Those are red flags. And she felt that internal, this doesn't feel right, but she didn't want to upset the apple cart. So she went outside the marriage because she was lonely and confused. And she could have done something different, 100%. We can address that with our partner. And when we decide to start to unravel and have authentic conversations where we're listening and giving, we can change a partnership if both people are willing, or we realize this person is not going to even ever come close to meeting my needs. And so maybe I am much better off just trying alone. But remember, that takes courage, So it's not always about being selfish, coming from a selfish being. It's a selfish act. I do agree with that. Absolutely. But sometimes that affair comes from someone that has deep loneliness and not feeling like they're enough. No, my belief is we really want to expand our minds and be careful not to put situations into too small of a box.
You spoke of the specific situation of, craving that physical intimacy and also that emotional intimacy, but just not receiving it and trying to make those attempts at understanding why her
Yeah.
husband was not providing this or avoiding this, and then ultimately being so frustrated and needing to, sort of relieve that by, straying. Where's the line between it being like just a selfish act versus just like being a selfish person?
So when you look at the whole person, when someone is a giver and is trying to create a healthier relationship, and I'm talking about now a person that is a giver and is outside of the marriage. So went outside of the marriage or any type of partnership to have their needs met. Yes, absolutely. That's a selfish act. And is that a selfish person? No, not necessarily. Look at who they are as a being. Some people are really givers, but they're not giving to themselves. And so unhealthy, but not selfish, but they can have an unselfish act. And if we want to look at somebody as, are they selfish? Well, look at how they are behaving in other ways. Are they helping people? Are they listening? Or are they just going about their day, making their schedule for them? Maybe they'll give their loved ones breadcrumbs. That would be a selfish being. And that kind of person, do they stray? Sometimes, yes. And that's a whole different spectrum. No, when you're in a relationship with a giver and they strayed, maybe it's worth working through. It depends how much you guys want to do your work. But if you're with a selfish person that is selfish in other ways and they're also cheating, that's a lot of work. Can they do that? Sure. They have to really be willing to step out of that shadow ego mind and go into, do I want to live a more healthy, purpose driven life? Anything's possible. It's all about what we set our intention on and how much work we're going to do, because truly, it takes work to live with integrity. And integrity, we can say we are, but when we're really judging people and harsh and critical, well, maybe we want to expand that too. When we're judging our partner or our neighbor or someone that did cheat, get to know them, get to know who they are if you choose before we judge. Another comment was because it's fun, because having an affair is fun. That's a second chakra issue. When we are just choosing to look at, I'm not having enough fun. Ooh, that woman's giving me attention or that man's giving me attention. And now we're going to go hang out and this is fun. And my current partner, it's not fun. There's so many ways to have fun besides having an affair. We can have fun by getting friends that are fun. We can invite our partner to start doing stuff. We can do things on our own that are fun. That, remember, fun comes in so many different ways. And in my belief, we're supposed to have fun. That's why I still, at my age, and I have adult kids, my two younger ones that are 18 and 23, I might still play tag in the grocery store with them. Why? Because it's fun and I don't hurt people. I don't run into people, but it's important to have fun. It's important to behave like a healthy kid sometimes and laugh. That makes our second chakra more alive. And are people that fun still prone to going out and having an affair? Sure, some are. But again, I'm talking about if you're going because it's fun or your partner did, there are so many ways to have fun that don't include betraying somebody. One of the listeners was really vulnerable and talked from her heart about why she stayed. She had kids. It's a complex situation on many levels because if you have children together, if you've been together 10 years, if you're compatible, they were having sex. She thought they had a really good relationship until she started to feel otherwise. And then remember, as you start to feel otherwise, if you've been in this situation or you know somebody that has, it's the unfolding. If they've been together a while and it was good, and then there's a little red flag, and then there's a little discomfort in the belly, and then there's another little red flag, and then they're hiding their phone, or then they are gone a little too long, or all of a sudden they're getting in great shape and they're not as connected to you as they once were. It's really hard to say, hey, I'm going to leave now. You can, but you've built this together. And some people choose to leave right away. That's their choice. And some people, it's just not that simple because of the life they've created together, like this one listener. And that's painful. It's a painful way to live and to be in the unknown. But some people leave too quickly and then they wonder later, had they stayed, would things have changed? Who knows? Who knows? Everybody has a different story. One of the listeners commented that the things that were being spoken about aren't in a good relationship. And they really wanted to hear what happens in a good relationship. You know, remember, this is my belief. On a soul level, two people come together to help each other grow. My view, when I'm talking about what I see out there in the world and the people I help, it's from a soul and a human perspective, not just human. So when you're looking at, is it a good relationship? I want to know why someone cheats in a good relationship. Well, do they actually cheat in a good relationship? To have a really good relationship, there's actual intimacy, an authentic conversation before someone cheats. If someone cheats, it really is not an authentic, awake relationship. It's not an emotionally connected relationship. Or we would know that our partner is unhappy. We would know that they're thinking of straying, or we would know that they're not connected to us. You know, that's the piece to remember. It's we can have a good relationship for a while. And then we start to feel a disconnect. That's the time to say, wait a minute, I thought we had a good relationship. And if we're starting to point fingers at somebody and not saying, what's going on, with curiosity, not judgment, because now we can expand and get back to a healthy relationship before someone betrays us. And it is possible. It's just that when we have a relationship with two good people and one of them strays and the other one was blindsided, pay attention to what was going on before that. Were we giving each other enough attention, or were we just getting into that comfortable rut? My belief is, and this came from a comment in one of the listeners, people cheat because they're weak. Absolutely. Absolutely. People cheat because on some level, there's a weakness. It's easier to run than to do our inner work. Doing our inner work is a lifelong journey, and it ebbs and flows. We need to do the inner work so we can have and understand what our value system is, and then live that value system, live with truth and integrity, even when it's hard to do so. Sometimes we spend so much time judging others or our partner instead of doing our own personal work. What if we decided to live relationships, like I said, with curiosity and not judgment, and delved in, not with a shame and blame attitude for self and others, but more of a, am I awake today? Am I being kind to myself today? Am I aware of how my actions are treating self and others today? And it's, again, not to be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect, and I don't even want to be perfect. I do try to live with integrity to the best of my ability because it's important to me, because I value it. And so my goal would be to bring in partners, friends that also have integrity.
I had a question about, you know, modern times. Obviously, in this day and age, people use their phones a lot. They can hide a lot of things on their phone. It's a very personal thing. If someone had an inclining, a feeling, or even if they had like a pretty good reason to want to look through that phone to see if there was something going on. But do you ever think it's okay? Do you think it's immoral? Do you think it solves the issue? Because that person who's suspicious could either be right or wrong.
That's a really good question, and it's not a simple answer. Why is it not a simple answer? Because when we are choosing, and I'm going to use a personal example here. When I was suspicious years and years and years ago, early on in my marriage, when my former husband wasn't looking, I would want to go through his stuff. And I would sometimes. And then it can become a little of an obsession that you start to be away from your own life and things that are important to you. And you're now focused on what that person is doing wrong. And then we start to go into that mindfulness training in an unhealthy way of, that person's going to do something wrong and I'm going to keep checking. So it can become an unhealthy obsession. Is it okay to do that without someone's permission? Not in my belief, just like I wouldn't read someone's diary. And also, if you have a inkling in, I'm feeling suspicious, that's a great time to have conversation. Ask your partner, Jane, I'm feeling this internal angst around a disconnect, why I'm feeling disconnected from you, or why you're putting your phone upside down. Can we talk about that? First, have the conversation about what's going on internally, why you're feeling that way. Are you feeling connected or not? Maybe it was as simple as they were complaining about you to their friend and they didn't want you to see it. Maybe it was a Christmas present. Who knows? But we want to be careful that we're not using the phone as the thing that's going to solve the problem. Because even if you're feeling suspicious and you look at the phone and there's nothing there, that doesn't mean there's not something going on, right? You just didn't see it on the phone. So it's not going to solve all the problems. Conversation will. Having authentic conversation. And perhaps that partner that is being faithful will say, of course you can look through my phone, and I'm really sorry you feel that way. How can we reconnect? Let's focus on reconnecting. Wouldn't that be a great ideal? That's what we want to strive for. We want to strive for those conversations where we understand, I'm feeling a little insecure in us right now. What can we do together to help us reconnect? And oftentimes, someone's feeling insecure because they're unhappy with some part of their life, and then they don't like themselves a lot. And so then they might project that onto their partner. That happens sometimes as well. So going internal first with self, and then having those authentic, intimate conversations with our partner. We can really work on healthier communication. And if the partner says, yes, go ahead, look at my phone. Is that really going to help you feel 100% great if you're feeling disconnected? Probably not. Might give you an instantaneous, okay, good. And then you'll find another reason. So it's to look what's underneath that and not use the phone as the only tool. And I want to bring up a scenario that happens oftentimes. If someone says, I'm in a relationship and my relationship is now starting to go south. I thought what we had was secure, but I'm feeling the disconnect. And what if I went to my partner when I was feeling that and said, I'm feeling disconnected? Ask yourself, how would you react? Would you feel defensive or threatened? How would you react to that? Because if we want to create true intimacy with a person, if we want to have that actual great relationship, we want to let go of defensiveness. We want to let go of defensiveness and go into that curiosity. And when someone's a serial cheater, that's a different ball game altogether, because someone can be quite charming. However, when we do our personal work, the charm isn't enough. We want a true intimacy with someone. But if we are allowing ourselves to get suspicious and then stay in that defensive mode, or stay in the anger, and someone approaches us and says, "What's going on with you?" If you're not the cheater, but you're feeling suspicious, it's hard then to have those authentic conversations when we're feeling on guard, when our shoulders are tight, when we just want to spew. So we want to be careful that we're not living defensively and closing our heart. That is oftentimes a natural first reaction. Yet remember, true intimacy means that we can actually have an honest and uncomfortable conversation about what is going on underneath, behind the scenes. How do we get disconnected? Because then we have an issue we can talk about and try to work through. And sometimes that working through means ending the relationship, and that's tough. So just go into that space of, why am I not wanting to ask those questions? Why would I rather stay angry or just assume? Or I feel the suspicion, but I'm too afraid to ask because we're not ready to change our life. True intimacy means we're honest with self and we're honest with others. And that takes a lot of strength to truly have conversations with our loved ones and ourselves about the truth. You know, the one that you were supposed to be most committed to, that partner, should be the one that you're also closest to. Yet oftentimes, that's the one we stop talking to. We might complain about them to our friends or our coworkers, search their phone while they're in the shower, find things wrong with everything they're doing. And maybe they're doing that to us as well. And we want to get curious instead of judgmental, because that judgment gets us nowhere. It becomes childish. And it's so amazing how many of us regress into defensive children in our relationships when things are no longer as easy as they used to be. Someone I work with, and she gave me her permission to talk about this, is really struggling with that with her own partner because he doesn't have a job. And so he's cranky a lot and taking it out on her just with his frustration overall. How he's behaving is out of her control. When we have a situation that's out of our control and he's feeling out of control because he can't get a job and he's been trying, that really can then hurt a relationship. They can pull away from each other because now she's agitated because he's cranky and can't find a job, and he's cranky at her because he has to pretend out there that he's happy because he goes on interviews. And we all know how that can happen. So then we pull away from each other, take it out on those closest to us. And that's how the separation can begin. Instead of continuing to be mad at each other and say, fine, I'm just going to go do this. Fine, I'm just going to go do this. Pause, breathe. Wait, what do I want? Do I really want to work through it with this person? If I do, then I want to breathe, get out of that tension, get out of the defensiveness, and go into, wait a minute, I love this person. I want to see what's going on. I maybe want to be available to them, or at least want to talk through it and not take what's going on at face value. Now we got to go underneath, and we have to have authentic conversations that take courage. Because in my belief, the deep reason that people stray is because they have a lack of courage to change their life. And a deeper reason that people stay and they're unhappy is because they have a lack of courage to change their life. It takes strength to stay the course of living a healthy life. It takes consistency. And it's not an easy journey to stay awake, but it's also not an easy journey to stay asleep. It sometimes seems easier to escape, blame others, shop too much, use substances, become too critical. But is it really? It's not. It hurts our jaw, it hurts our liver, it hurts our bank account, whatever it is. It isn't easier to stay asleep. It just seems like it's harder to wake up. They're both hard. In order to stay awake, we need to have the strength to do the work, make the commitment, take the action steps we need to love our life. And again, that doesn't mean that life is going to be easy and your relationship is going to be perfect. There's going to be stuff that's painful. Remember what I said in a previous episode. There are 5 solids to a great relationship: mutual respect, mutual trust, mutual values, mutual interests, mutual attraction. Now go within. Do I respect myself? Do I trust myself to make wise decisions? Do I live my value system? Do I have enough interests that keep me going through my day and looking forward to things? And do I feel attractive? Now we turn that into a relationship. Do we respect each other? Do we trust each other? Do we have enough shared values? Do we have enough shared interests? And are we still attracted to each other? When we live by that, much easier to have a healthier relationship. We have reviews in our jobs, quarterly, semi-quarterly, annually. Why don't we have monthly or quarterly honest and curious reviews in our relationships? Our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with others, having a review, not a harsh one, but a kind one. And it can even be funny. It can even be fun. It can be lighthearted, but it is important. Our lives are meant to be fulfilling, and we are meant to love ourselves. Feeling alive means different things to different people. It's up to us, truly, each one of us as individuals, to go out and find the healthy ways so we have purpose, we feel empowered, and we get back to that self-love. So we are not hanging on to partners that are not good for us. So we are not choosing partners that are going to treat us less than. So we are really awake enough to choose a healthy, intimate partner that's actually going to make our lives better. And there's many ways to do that. There's many ways to find self-love and self-empowerment and purpose. We have to incorporate the physical body. We want to learn new things, an instrument, the chakra system, write a book, learn to cook, go travel, learn a language, learn to knit, visit lots of places, read more, whatever it is, become more interesting for yourself. Because when we take the time to really assess the true meaning of feeling healthy, happy, empowered, and purposeful, we don't need to take away the power of others, because we are learning to love the life that we have. And that makes all the difference in every single relationship you're going to have going forward. I wish you a beautiful end of 2024 and a exciting start in a healthy way to 2025. I love to end my year with how I want it to begin. So whatever my commitment to self is, I start early. And perhaps that's something you'll want to try too. Have a beautiful few weeks, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for being here. Hey listeners, thank you so much for being part of the Soul Speak world. I really appreciate that. And if you're willing, and if you find this of value, would you please follow on any of the platforms you're listening to, whether that's Apple or Spotify or Google or any of the platforms. And of course, I love the ratings if you find this valuable. You can also follow me on YouTube and like and share, and all of that really makes a difference. Appreciate your participation. And of course, I really appreciate you being part of this world.